Looking Beyond Behaviour. Interesting question at the top of the page. Do I really have free will, or are most of my actions led by conditioned patterns of unconscious behavior linked to a small number of primary needs and fears? What if there was a way that you could start to understand yourself and other people using a model of behavior that allowed you to really spot patterns, really start to understand why people do what they do without getting sucked into the surface story that most people get sucked into? So if you try to change the surface behavior without understanding what's causing it, then you're on a hamster wheel to frustration. However, if you start to understand that there are only so many causes of why we do what we do, once you peel back the layers of the onion, you can start to become very empowered. Now, I use this model. It's a model that I learned while I was working with Tony Robbins. Tony does a lot of psychotherapeutic, would you believe, intervention. And I've been one of Tony's trainers for many, many years. Spent the last decade and a half working alongside Tony around the world. As a trainer, one thing that I do, as well as Carolyn, who you saw earlier on stage, fellow trainer, is that we tend to work at a level of intervention with people who have what society would call behavioral challenges. And that could manifest as anything from suicidal to OCDC, to frustrated, to depressed, to drug addiction, to all sorts of different aspects. And whenever I'm working with somebody in that context, the primary tools that I use, the model that I use to understand what's really going on is what I'm about to share with you right now. Now, there's many different models of psychology, and I've studied most of them. You have the traditional dynamic psychotherapy, which is a 100-plus-year-old model by a gentleman called Sigmund Freud. And, yeah, no judgment. You have holistic therapy, you have cognitive therapy, you have Gestalt therapy, you have NLP, you have many different models, and all they are is a model. Yeah, what I'm going to share with you today is a model. And like anything, you can try it and see if it works, but I've never found a model as powerful as understanding that there's certain governing forces that really are responsible for many of the decisions and actions and behaviors we take. And once you understand them at a fundamental level, it's like taking the sunglasses off. And we really start to see, and I'm going to share these with you right now. So, 8 compelling forces that govern what we do. The first one, top of the page, is a need for certainty. A fundamental need for certainty. Now, this isn't Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's different. A lot of that on Maslow's side is surface-driven that triggers unconscious behavioral action. But this is a different model. But the need for certainty is at the top of most people's list, unfortunately. Now, we all need, as human beings, a need for certainty. If I wasn't certain that this ceiling would stay up in the next 5 minutes, I would not be standing here. Promise you that. But unfortunately, most people are over-conditioned to put certainty somewhere close, if not at the top of their list. And when you start to understand the challenges that causes, you would want to run away from a need for certainty. One of my favorite quotes from Tony states that the quality of our life is in direct proportion to the amount of uncertainty we can comfortably live with. Now, what do you think the key word there is, by the way? The quality of our life is in direct proportion to the amount of uncertainty we can comfortably live with. Comfortably. Do we have to live with uncertainty? Yes or yes? Right? Where does certainty exist? Where does certainty exist? I mean, they used to say death and taxes, right? And then I moved to Dubai. But now I'm back, so it's all good. But certainty doesn't exist in nature. It is an absolute myth. How many people in this room, be honest with yourselves, raise your hand and own this if it's true for you. How many people in this room have had something in their life they thought was certain? A position, a job, a relationship, anything, only to have it taken away in a heartbeat. Look around the room. You tell me certainty exists. It's a myth. The only difference is the tree doesn't stand there worrying if it's going to get blown down by a storm tomorrow. It just deals with what happens in the moment. But we create all sorts of mind games around the need for certainty. But we need to have some level of certainty. Now, contrast that with the second need, which is the need for uncertainty. Because God has a fabulous sense of humor. She's awesome. And so what we actually have there is a paradox. And if you can imagine a bit like a seesaw. Yeah? On one side we have total certainty, and on the other side, total uncertainty. Now, another word for uncertainty. Uncertainty that you like, by the way, we call variety. Uncertainty we don't like, we call problems. But at some point, yeah, do we or do we not, during the course of our life, have a seesaw of certainty and uncertainty going on? Absolutely. Where we sit on our comfortable monitor, or our little comfort level, where we sit on this seesaw determines so much about how we live our life. If you have a higher need for embracing uncertainty, are you going to live a different life than if you're addicted to certainty? Damn right. Now, as an entrepreneur, which side of the seesaw do you think we should get comfortable with? Damn right, uncertainty, because there is no certainty in life, but there's certainly no certainty in business. The average thing or time it takes for something to show up in business that wasn't actually thought out, planned for, rehearsed, and plan B'd is about 27 microseconds. Entrepreneurs, true? Damn right. So if you're gripped by an addiction to certainty, then you're going to handle uncertainty in a very different, very disempowered place than if you can handle certainty. And again, there's no guarantees. That's just part of the nature of the game, and it makes it fun. Or for others, it makes it scary. It's all about shifting the context, not the content. So, depending on where we are on this seesaw, depends on which kind of holidays we take, who we ask out for a date, what kind of condition we're generally in, and what we attribute to that. But there's some more needs. Need number 3 is the need for significance. The need for significance. The need to have our own sense of self-validation and importance, our own sense of identity, our own sense of uniqueness, a sense of being somebody. Make sense? Now, guess what? Back to the paradox. The 4th need is the need for love and connection. Now, unfortunately, most people want love, but they settle for connection because I said earlier, we have no references for unconditional love past about 18 months old. So we'll settle for connection. Or we'll project our own insecurities onto what we think love is, having read Mills and Boon. So if we start to understand that both of those are also a paradox, because the very definition of being significant means that you're separate from, correct? Unique, different, stand out. Now we start to see some of the conditioned patterns of society, which says, okay, especially men, guys, we're done when it comes to this. We're sold a lot by the media on understanding or chasing the rabbit, should I say, of getting more significance in order to get more connection. In other words, the more significant I am, the more love and connection, approval, validation, etc. I will get. We've already seen that pattern show up. Most of us have been running it. So if I'm trying to get more significance by being more separate from in order as a vehicle to get more connection, can anyone see a slight challenge with that? I mean, put in that context, it's daft. So understanding that we essentially have what I call a 4-way seesaw. We've got the certainty and uncertainty seesaw. We've also got the significance and the love and connection seesaw. Now, if you overlay those two on top of each other as the 4 primary needs of the personality, what you tend to find is that most people have this 4-way seesaw going on in their lives at all times. And they're trying to do something to get more certainty, or more variety, or more love and connection, or more significance. And what everybody's looking, this is why I said it was bullshit earlier about the wheel of life. Everybody's looking for this mythical balance point in the middle, are they not? Where everything is just perfect. Anyone ever got that, by the way? Yeah, it happens. And the reason it happens is because if you go to Las Vegas and put enough quarters in the slot, and you pull that lever enough times, at some point you're going to get 4 cherries in a row. But how often does that happen? And how often does it stay there? So, has anyone ever got there where you got something? My life right now is perfect, nobody fucking breathe. And how long does it last before the winds of life come and start it all over again? Everyone know what I'm talking about? So the challenge is that most people will go to their grave chasing that mythical balance point. And whenever we are under the illusion that we may have it, like getting enough cherries in a row in Vegas, it compels us to keep putting more quarters in and chasing that because we now think we have a reference to the fact that it's possible. Welcome to the life of unfulfillment. Frustration. Constantly thinking something's wrong. Constantly hoping the next corner will take me somewhere that's right. So life cannot be lived along the lines of hoping that this is going to be the life that I need to design in order to be happy. And luckily, it doesn't have to be, because there's two more needs. And these needs, these next two needs, are really where most of the fulfillment and the joy come from. And I didn't make them up, but you only have to go to nature to validate them. And that is the need for growth and contribution. The need to grow and contribute. Now, why do I say that? Go to nature. Everything in nature grows and contributes, or it's taken out of the food chain, is it not? I've got news for you. Animals don't die of old age in nature. Once they're unable to grow and contribute anymore, they contribute themselves to something else, usually lunch. Part of the game. When you have a blood cell that can't do its job anymore, it's taken out and renewed. Same thing, different level of existence. So growth and contribution is where it's at. Now, what I can tell you is that if you put a smile on somebody else's face for the right reasons, do you feel better than if you put a smile on your face? In other words, if you do something for somebody else, do you have easier access to joy, or do you get more access to joy if you do something selfish? Which one? Again, give me some feedback, guys. Again, it's not an IQ test. I know you already know the answer. I'm just getting some energy here. All right, so when you contribute beyond yourself, you enter a different level of energy. Now, you also need to grow. Now, how do we grow? I'll give you a clue. If you want to grow in the gym, what do you got to do? You've got to lift weights. In other words, you have to challenge yourself beyond your current comfort zone. Now, that's where most people who are addicted to certainty fall down, because they call that problems. The strongest trees, my friends, do not grow in the best soil, contrary to popular belief. They grow in the strongest winds. So if you want to be the person who you want to become, to live the life you were born to live, I've got news for you. Start asking for some strong winds. You want decent legs? Ask for a mountain to climb. It's the way it goes. And we can bitch and complain about it because we've been sold on the illusion of certainty, but that's not what we're here for. And nowhere in nature is that rewarded. So if we want to get in the spirit of growth and contribution, growth is fantastic. Growth is, as I say, is getting in the gym and lifting the weights. Contribution is about getting out of our own way. Here's one thing I've noticed consistently on all the people I've worked with, including a young gentleman that just came up to me and spoke at the side of the stage that spent most of the early part of his life suicidal. One of the first things I shared with him: stop making it about you. Most people who are depressed are too busy being focused on who do you think? Themselves. And when he got that, you should have seen the smile on his face. I won't point him out yet. See, when you get out of your own way and start making your mission here more than who you are, life starts to shift. Another one of my favorite quotes, another one from Tony. It says, power moves to those in direct proportion to their willingness to serve. To what? Serve. To give. But how can we do that when we're too tied by our tapes, trying to get validation and approval and what we think is love, by running after our own goals, so that we can turn around to everybody and say, hey, look, see, now I'm good enough. Please love me. Where's the room in there for you going out and giving your gift to the world to make a difference? Where? Nowhere. That's why you have to get out of your own way first. That's why we do day one the way we do day one. And if you've not figured out yet, we're just warming up. Lots more to come. So growth and contribution are more the needs of the spirit or the soul or whatever label you want to put on it. I'm not here to get caught up in different interpretations of labels. But growth and contribution is where far more joy and fulfillment come from. That's where they're found. Not in trying to chase this mythical balance point of getting everything in my life just the right degree of certainty and variety and significance and love and connection. That is a game that you're going to go to your grave doing that with no matter what. Get used to it. That's life. And enjoying that journey, learning how to surf that, learning how to ride that is the game. That's where we grow and become better people. Not by clinging onto it, hoping that one day we're going to spin the wheel and it's all going to land here. Again, Disneyland thinking.